Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's interview with Janosh Biczok, a Ducere alumni. We're talking all things MBA and we are very happy to have him here tonight with us. So to get the ball rolling, Janosh, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Excellent. Before we get started into the formal questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an avid surfer. I like a challenge, and actually, I love learning.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I love learning, and also I'm really passionate about education. So I work within the sector.
Okay.
Before here, I worked for a large not-for-profit, which was very much education based. So it's I try and marry my passion with work, really.
Excellent. And when for the audience, when did you actually graduate with us?
I finished mid-2015, so about 18 months ago.
Brilliant. I think a lot of people who are tuning in and watching this interview are really going to want to know, they're at that point when they're kind of weighing up that should I not, do I have the time? So I think we really appreciate you being able to give us the real insights into what it's like when someone embarks on the journey of completing an MBA. So I guess that pulls me back to the very start. And I guess, what was your motivation for wanting to do an MBA?
So mine was very much around where I was at with my career. So I'd just taken over a large team and I recognised that I had gaps, knowledge gaps within what it was like to manage a team, what it was like to make decisions. And I thought that an MBA could fill those gaps for me where I was at my career. And also, I wanted to have a challenge. I wanted something new, I didn't want to do the day-to-day stuff. And finally, I'd only worked with one organisation at that point in my career. And I wanted to know what it was like to work within other organisations, work with people with other organisations as well. And I thought the kind of team environment that this MBA encouraged would really allow me to do that.
Excellent. I think that's quite a common thing for people who are deciding to do an MBA. They're sitting in that position, they think, well, look, I want to take on this new responsibility. I may not yet have that skill set to do so, and let's go and get that formal training. And the other side of it is you've got those people who are like, I've got all that formal training, I just need the piece of paper to recognise it. So it's very interesting. I think it's a very common experience for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That position when you were sitting there, making that decision, what were some of the factors that you thought about before saying, all right, I'm actually going to do this, I'm ticking it off, I'm willing to make the time commitment to something like this? So
my factors were very much where I wanted to be in the future from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
So kids, I was fortunate I didn't have any children at the time, so I kind of had, I didn't have really any other commitments outside of work, because I recognised to do an MBA, I needed to have significant time out on weekends, I needed to be available in evenings and so forth. So I felt it was a really good stage in my life where I could take on such a big commitment.
Yep.
But also I felt I was doing it for the right reasons. I hear a lot of people do it because they want a promotion. Oh, great, I'll get an MBA, I can then get a promotion. Whereas I'd got that. It was all about the kind of upskilling myself opposed to that kind of, superficial, I'll get a pay rise or whatever.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that, another thing that many people, and I'm sure yourself, weighed up that which is the right MBA for me. Anyone can, with a simple Google search, have a look and you get essentially bombarded with some great, fantastic offerings. But you chose the University of Canberra Ducere MBA. How did you make that decision, or why would you choose that?
Yeah, so based on work commitments, I needed something flexible.
Okay.
I needed something where I could do the work in my own time and make sure that my study can work around my work schedule, opposed to my work schedule to fit around my study. And having looked into what UC offered and this specific MBA, I felt that it actually married quite well with what I needed.
Okay, excellent. The level of commitment required for completing an MBA, workload, balancing what you have in your personal life, professional life, and then adding this next layer How does someone do it? How did you do it? Take us through how you did that.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
I'll say it was challenging. Before I started, I actually asked someone, estimate how much time a week do you think you'd spend? And they told me...
And be honest.
Yeah,
right?
be honest. That's what I said. And they said approximately 10 hours. And so I said, okay, well, that's another day's work.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more than that, I think, on average. And I was fortunate I had support. Work was really supportive. You know, they had a really good study program at work. I had a wife who was supportive as well. You have to be selfish.
Yeah.
You know, I did full-time study, full-time work over 12 months. I sat down with my partner and I said, look, this is about me for the next 12 months. I need to commit that. So it was at least another 1 or 2 days work on top of a 5-day work week. So it was really challenging. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed it. It was, you know, at the start you're saying people are considering, should I do it? I said, just do it. You know, it's 12 months of really hard work, but it was genuinely rewarding.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. And so I guess from that, tell me a little bit more about the general benefits that you've seen since, whether it be professionally, whether it be personally, whatever it may be. I guess people think to themselves, geez, I want to do this. You know, what have you seen thus far as being, you know, the real benefits for you from completing it, spending that time?
Probably threefold. So the first one, and I go back to what I said at the start, is I really got to learn how other organisations function. So through the industry projects, for example, you know, I got to work with the Big Four, I got to work with PwC, I got to work with KPMG, organisations I never, from the outside, I knew how they operated.
Yeah.
And so this experience got to really open my eyes. You know, I'd only ever worked in the not-for-profit sector. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what it was like to work with or work for other organisations. So I found that really beneficial to open my eyes and see what else is out there.
Yeah.
The second was network. Mm-hmm. You know, still, in fact, I received a Christmas text message from someone I'd done my first project with when I started this. That's so really we still connect.
Yeah.
And the network, from the sense that during the program you get the support from your teammates, but then after that you stay in contact with whether it's looking for other job opportunities, whether it's you just want, you know, general guidance and support in your everyday job. So that was really beneficial. Mm-hmm. And then the third element, and I guess this is why it was so important for me at the stage of my career, was still then and now I was able to incorporate what I learned in the course into my work. You know, I took a very different approach to how I did my day-to-day job, both from a strategic level and an operational level as well.
Yeah.
And I found that really beneficial, and still to this day I still kind of reflect on what I learned during the course, even though it's been 18 months or so.
Yeah, excellent. And I guess then from that, there is this notion of, obviously you are doing an online course. For those viewing, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the interaction that you have? I mean, you talked about just before about networking and creating some great relationships, but what kind of interaction do you have with other students?
It's a lot.
Okay.
A lot. You know, the industry projects completely rely on your ability to engage and work with others.
Yeah.
And distance is a challenge, but you learn through it. So one project, I worked with someone from New York. Another project, we had someone in Canada. So you have to be willing to be, you know, flexible, to start your calls at 10 p.m. so the Canadian person can do theirs at 7 or vice versa.
Yeah.
But again, it's part of your learning experience. You know, on my day-to-day job, I work with people from different countries all the time. So that wasn't new. Mm-hmm. The new thing was, okay, I've never met this person before, and those type of things as well. But you need to be able to problem solve with your group.
Yeah.
If someone in the group, for whatever reason, whether it's a legitimate reason they can't commit for a week, you have to be able to pick up the slack as well. And you can't let the issues of group work get in the way of delivering, because the client doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's a really interesting point, because as you noted before, some of the business that you work with, you know, your NABs, your KPMGs, your PwCs, big name organisations that the students will experience and get to know, they not interested in the internal workings of the MBA group. They want to see results, and I think that's a really interesting piece. And you go through that journey together, and it may look like whatever it looks like, but then the outcomes for the clients and your experience, as you noted, not necessarily ever, dealing with those types of organisations and having exposure to it must have been really fantastic, and what a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely, and even seeing how my performance grew from the first semester as a learner to the last semester as a leader, and how I engaged with the clients as well. And I remember very quickly on into my experience, it was the very first time we met with PwC, and that was when I realised that in their eyes, you're not just students. Mm-hmm. We met with a senior partner. He set down very clear expectations, and I went, "Oh shit, we've got to deliver."
Yeah. This is real.
This is real. This is a genuine business problem that they have.
Yeah.
And they want to see solutions.
Yeah.
And so I think, that'll contribute to part of the experience, but you need to perform, and of course the theory that you're learning helps that and enhances that, and you've kind of got tools to at your fingertips. But you've got to deliver. Yeah. You've got to execute. And through the whole process, when there is a challenge with the team, or if your team's going really well, you've got to keep the client expectations and what they want at the absolute forefront.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's, from me speaking to multiple students, for me speaking to actual multiple partners that we have, I think that's a really important piece. And I think that the reason why some of these big names continually come back and ask us to work with them and get more MBA students to work on projects for them is because of the actual outcomes they receive, the quality of the types of students that go through it, and I think for them, they see it as what a great opportunity to look at and deal with to get people from all different walks of life, different ways of thinking, to be able to work on projects for them. It's really beneficial. And I guess this is for us to be able to then offer that to students like yourself and to others coming through it who may not be in other opportunities to deal with these types of businesses is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my role that I had at the time, I would never have got to work with the people that I did at those organisations, and I would never have got to get a real intimate understanding of the problems that they face as a business. And the fact that they're willing to take students on and commit to those projects is great. And I think it's really part of what I enjoyed most about the program.
Did you know before you started the MBA that it was structured in that way, that it is very industry driven and industry focused in comparison to say some other MBAs?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, how I found out about it was my employer at the time, Save the Children, was an actual industry partner.
Of course.
And so for the industry partner to say, hey, you should do this course, it's fantastic, it was already adding credibility to it.
Yeah.
I think for the positive, what I was surprised with, and I hadn't quite appreciated going into it, was how real their business problems were.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe they might have a theoretical problem that they might put towards the students, and you get a score at the end, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate you've got senior business leaders that are really looking for you for solutions.
Yeah.
And that surprised me, but for the best.
Yeah. And I think it's something that's echoed quite a bit that we hear is this. We thought we were going to get something that was kind of like in the back corner that no one really ever cared about, and then students find themselves dealing with very senior level people in the organisation and then getting exposure to these real life problems. So thank you for touching on that industry element. It's a really important piece of what we do.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I guess, a feather in our hat that we want to continuously push is this idea that we are very industry relevant, and you're a good testament to your experience for that MBA.
Yeah, and the only thing I will add quickly is, from a student perspective, is make sure they appreciate the fact that the client's investing a lot into the process as well.
Great point.
And, when you're going to present your final solution, you treat it like a real business scenario. It adds to your learning experience, but also adds real value to the client and the overall process as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about, I guess, did you have any favourite subjects that you learned, or was there any particular areas of study that you had and now suddenly you're finding yourself utilising them all the time? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was fortunate that every subject I learned something new from. There's a few people that I spoke to who had 20 years on me in my career, and they knew all the budgeting back to front. So they said, oh, that's boring, they had to do it anyway. So for me, I learned it all new. What I enjoyed most was the final semester. It was the leadership and entrepreneurship. Those were the two subjects. Entrepreneurship, every case study was interesting. You got to learn about the Elon Musks of the world and how they tick and what separates them from the everyday person. And so I really enjoyed those subjects. I learned a lot of them. The content was interesting, but relevant as well. Going into it, I thought, I can be an entrepreneur. That's easy. Look at these rich people driving. Everyone can be an entrepreneur. And then you really learn about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and you actually sit back and go, that's not for me. I'm not willing to take the risk as these people do. I'm not going to put it on the line. And so no, definitely around the innovation and entrepreneurship, those two subjects resonated the most.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess the experience that you had with the academics, tell me a little bit about that.
Mixed, in all honesty. So from an industry project perspective, each project we had, I think, a sponsor, I can't remember the exact title for it, and it was mixed. Some were really engaged, emailing us every second day, how's your progress, do you have any issues? And one was calling in from Canada, and she would dial into our meetings at 3 a.m, and it was just incredible. She was always responsive. I don't know how she slept. And then you had other ones that would probably check in with you once every couple of weeks, and they would be responsive, but no more than that. So it was mixed, but they really add, when they're engaged, they add a lot to the process. That's from the industry perspective. Then from the subjects and the lecturers as well, some are really engaging, great case studies, and others just kind of repeated what was in the articles. But I think what was even great about those is the articles they would guide you to were really constructive to what you're learning as well. So even though themselves might not be that engaging, the content that they're guiding you to really contributed to your assignments. If you just want to get a great mark, they were the articles you wanted to get. But overall, broader understanding, that was good as well.
Interesting. And I guess then staying motivated and things like that. I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of exciting things happening, but like any type of study, there's some times where you're just like, I don't know if I'm up for this. Yeah. From your personal experience, what were the tricks that you did, or was there anything that you did that ensured that you made sure that you logged in and you did your bit and so on? And what was that about?
So I think number one for me, and this is something I had to learn throughout the process, was you got to plan. And you got to treat it. You get what you put in. So to me, what I did was I treated Saturday as another work day.
Okay.
I'd get up at 7:30, have my breakfast, and I'd start study at 9, set myself lunch, finish at 6.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Other people aren't that regimented, but if I didn't have such a strict plan, I knew personally I wouldn't do it. During the work week, I would dedicate at least one night a week to study.
Yeah.
And I'd usually do it at my office because I was already there. I'd save time on travel, so I'd finish work at 5:30, start study, and go till 8 or 9 o'clock, whatever time.
Yeah.
So I think to get me through, I had to be really strict and plan in that sense. And I knew how important it was for me professionally to get this done, It cost a lot of money for me to do it.
Yeah.
So from an investment perspective, I knew I wanted to get out as much as I could.
Okay.
But also I knew that was really going to contribute to my career. I think the other thing I'll advise is, and this goes with the industry group project, is try and latch on to someone that can really support you.
Yeah.
Find that one or even two people. You might be down, you might be saying, oh gosh, I'm exhausted, I don't want to keep on going. You give them a call. And you're not alone, that's what I really...
Thinking the same thing.
I know this assignment's really tricky and I think you're not alone, if sometimes you think, oh my God, I'm the only person that can't answer this question, but you're not.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, call whether it's your staff member, call someone from your team and get that one tip that you need, or, get that little kind of push in the back and said, keep on going, because you're not alone. And I think for me, I was fortunate every semester I had those one or two teammates that were there for me.
Yeah.
and vice versa. I was trying to be there as well, but really make sure you latch on to those two people that can carry you through when required.
Yeah, that's excellent. I think that's some really good advice for those who are thinking, like, am I alone on this journey? So that's awesome. I guess fast forward a little bit now.
Yep.
You've graduated and so on. What, I guess, has changed for you professionally since completing an MBA?
So, I've been fortunate to change roles.
Okay.
And yes, it's very nice to have those 3 letters on your CV. MBA, of course, it gets you through. But really, for me, it's the content that I learned from a theory perspective. I still do today. And so, for example, going into this, I'd never even heard what management accounting was. I never knew what it was like to make decisions based on the numbers in front of you. I didn't know what the process was like, and I do that every day now. And I was never exposed to that until this course.
Yeah.
From an industry perspective, the process that the course teaches you to go through about, okay, set a hypothesis. Like, you've got a problem, what's your hypothesis, test solutions, and you kind of overlay that with the design thinking methodology and other areas. Again, I'd never been exposed to that prior to this course. And every day I'll even, not plagiarising, but even I'll teach others, some of my team members, I'll say, okay, this is a process you need to go through to find a solution. So all of that I use day to day, and again, back to the industry, when you sit down and you're going through that problem solving process and then you're putting forward a range of different solutions, that is important, that client facing experience. So that I still incorporate. So really, it's probably able me to perform better. First and foremost, and then because that improved performance, it's helped me to progress my career and get to a position where I've wanted to be for a while.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that something that you said earlier at the very start of the conversation was about, you were moving into this new role, you wanted to feel ready, you went and you studied. Do you feel like that goal was achieved? Yeah,
absolutely. I'm leading a small team now at an organisation I love working for, and I know that this 100% contributed to that. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I guess a lot of people will be viewing this and they'll be sitting in that position where they still maybe either or they said, no, this is great, this is for me. What advice would you give those who are maybe either sitting on the fence or just not quite sure if the path of the MBA is right for them?
Yeah. So I'll give you guys some advice that I got when I was umming and ahhing. I was in that same position. I spoke to a woman who I respect greatly. She was an old CEO of mine, long-term C-level person, really respected. And I had that conversation with her.
Yeah.
And she said to me, Janosh, you're always going to be busy. Life responsibilities is never going to decrease. Whether it's personal, professional, you're always going to be busier next year and the year after.
Yeah.
So don't make excuses. Just do it. And I think that really resonated with me. And I know it was in like that afternoon or the next day was when I said, yep, I'm going to do this. So I think if people think they're too busy, you're not. You can always, if it really matters that much, you can always find the extra hours in the week to do it.
Yeah.
And I think another thing for me is going into this, I was a little bit intimidated by the content. It'd been probably 5 or 6 years since I did my undergraduate degree.
Okay.
And I was thinking, oh gosh, with all these really smart people, I'm not going to know what these theories are about and how to write an essay and so forth. I found that stuff easy. The challenge was the balancing of the time, not seeing your friends, not being there for your partner. And so that's what I struggled with. And that's when you look at your other ways to, being really strict with your planning and, using or working closely with other partners doing the course as well, to get around that commitment and to know that you're not really alone.
Yeah.
So I think people got to be realistic and say, it's going to be a time commitment, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And don't don't take time off during it. I remember when I graduated, someone took 6 months, said, "Oh, I'll skip a semester," and they hated it.
Yeah.
They hated the fact that I was graduating and they were a semester behind. So if you
do it here first. Don't
do it straight. It's 12 months.
Just commit. Just commit.
12 months of pain, but it's worth it in the end. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just got to do it.
Yeah, excellent. I think 12 months of your life. We all know how quick a year goes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I guess a couple of just some things that will be interesting maybe for you to know. Since you graduated, we've started to build further more industry partners. That number grows. It's literally, I think, what's really exciting about what you've gone through or others go through when they do the MBA project with us is this exposure to different types of businesses that they may have never had the opportunity to see, whether it be government-style organisations, not-for-profits, or the big banks. It's this. It is something very much a point of difference for us, and I guess where we're moving to is this idea that also from an international level, so that we'll partner with organisations abroad. So again, our MBA students will get exposure to an even further global experience and what that looks like. So, that's something that we're working on at the moment. It's very much part of the our founders' vision and something that we're working. It's kind of a bit of a long term, but it's as things happen here in this organisation, they happen very quickly. So we welcome that. And I guess for me, I work within the department which actually goes out and helps with finding new partners and so on. So I can say hand on heart, this is a very important piece for us, and it's something we will continue to do. And as you heard here tonight, it very much is a point of difference and something that we want to make sure all our students get exposure to all these types of different businesses, because you'll never know where you're going to be in the future. And I think that networking piece that you talked about earlier is really important for people to remember as well, because I know that speaking to other people who've done MBAs, that was one of the things they looked for. Like, how will this progress me professionally, not just through the additional letters that I receive, but what does my now network look like? And it sounds like you really you got to meet some great people and expanded that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the industry piece as well, I mean, that's what I enjoyed the most of the whole thing. And having had a career in not-for-profit, I specifically requested that I have my industry groups in the corporate sector.
Yeah.
So that's why I had PwC, NAB and KPMG. And for me and where I was at, that was why it was so beneficial. I know people that specifically ask, can I have a government project or can I have a not-for-profit project, because I've only ever been corporate sector before. So I think the fact that you've got that diverse portfolio of partners is what adds real value to the course.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that is something that still happens now. We'll have people that say they work in X, I would like a taste of Y, and I think that we have the ability to be able to do that and to be able to, I guess, almost somewhat personalise the experience for our students, which is a great thing to be able to do. Look, I think that we're very happy that you could come on and talk to us about what your experience was like, because I think it's very easy for people to speak to people who work with us and they think they hear how great it is, but to actually hear from someone who's gone through the experience, who has come out the other end, qualified and gone through the journey, and explain that it's not necessarily an easier road, but it is rewarding. And so thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Pleasure.
For those who are viewing, feel free to get in contact with us. We welcome your calls. Get in contact with probably Daniel Cairns if you ring Ducere, and he'll be more than happy. He's our head of enrolments and be very happy to talk you through a little bit more about what we do and how we can make it work for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.